Have you ever felt fast at your home track, but as soon as you race somewhere new, you're completely lost? Regardless if you're racing cars or karts, there's a pretty big variety of the different tracks you can race on. Some are long, some are short, some have long straights and fast sweeping turns, while some are pretty tight and technical. Knowing how to identify the type of track and adjust your driving style accordingly is very important to becoming a well-rounded racer. I've seen a bunch of people who are pretty fast at their home track, but on any other track they're significantly off the pace. I've also faced the challenges when it comes to adapting to new tracks. After all, it's very hard to break old habits. But first, I'd appreciate if you guys subscribe. It really helps me out a lot and I'd appreciate it. If you race on many different tracks throughout the season, naturally you'll just become better at adapting to each one. With more experience, you become quicker at adjusting to new tracks. If you don't have the option to go to race at many new tracks outside of your area, I highly recommend sim racing and switching between different tracks you've never raced on. From a psychological standpoint, this will exercise your brain into adapting to the new track, and with each new one, you'll get better and quicker at adapting. But what can you do when you're at the track in person? This is where track walks come in. Going on track walks can be pretty useful for your first time in a new track. It allows you to see the track close up rather than going in it completely blind. You can see things you wouldn't normally be able to see while driving, such as bumps, braking references, and where the rubber is being laid down. When you hit the track, you'll have a better perspective of how it flows, and you can start focusing on finding the limit rather than finding which way to go. But how do you distinguish the type of tracks and what techniques each one will use? Let's break down the factors that make each track unique, starting with the surface of the track. A couple years ago, a track I used to race at got a makeover and a complete repave. Unfortunately, the new surface turned out to be very bumpy and the track drove completely different as a result. I had to completely change my braking points and smooth out my inputs or I'd just get thrown around by the cart. On a rough surface, balance is very important since it becomes much easier to get unsettled and lose control. This means braking a bit smoother and watching your entry speeds more than you normally would. And this becomes especially apparent on street circuits where the pavement is dusty, cracked, and completely flat. Over a race distance, this is going to put much more wear on your body and your car. You're going to have to pace yourself a bit more than usual and take corners less aggressively. How wide the track is will obviously determine your racing line and where the passing zones will be. Most national level or generally nicer tracks tend to be wider to accommodate bigger fields and more exciting racing. But on tracks which are less known, they tend to be narrower than normal. Obviously, passing is going to be much harder and riskier, so it's important to know which corners work best and practice your racecraft. While passing will be harder, I would argue that racecraft is still very important on wider tracks, since you can easily be passed at any moment. So basically, to compare F1 tracks, if you qualify on pole in Monaco, it's much easier to win because there's less room for your competition to pass you, but it's nearly impossible to win if you start from the back. On the other hand, the track like Silverstone, passes are much more common and we often see the positions changing for the lead. The next are the types of corners. There are many types of corners, from chicanes, sweepers, 90-degree corners, hairpins. Those are only some of the many corners you could see on a track. Tracks with slow, twisty turns are my personal favorite. It can be very enjoyable if you have the right technique. On a track with a lot of hairpins, you want to enter pretty aggressively, hard on the brakes with a good amount of steering input. This will put a lot more load on the front end, which is really what you want to get more front end grip. After braking, you barely want to coast and just roll the speed through the corner. You want to be getting back on the gas as soon as possible and to shoot out of the corner. On the other hand, long, fast, sweeping corners require a lot more patience. You have to be much more smooth on the pedals and the wheel to keep the car as balanced as possible, like you're on rails. So now that you know how to distinguish the different types of tracks, you now know what to do in each scenario. Tracks such as Silverstone or Newcastle Karting track tend to be very fast, flowing, wide, and smooth. Tracks like Monaco or PSGK are bumpy, twisty, and narrow. There's no easy way to learn a new track, but knowing how each one works and what to do will help you get up to speed much quicker than your competition. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and comment what works for you as well. I'm coming out with more videos soon, so yeah, hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.